You're live.
Hockey Nation fans, welcome back to the Hockey Nation live show with Coach Frenchy directly from the booth. And of course, the co-host from the West Coast, Michael Divillano. Michael, welcome back in the booth today.
Good morning, Frenchy. I'm excited because we're going to be talking about the LA Kings today.
Yeah, it's a team really on where you at, honestly, the same state. And, a lot of transformation over there. They are hanging there for the last couple of years. And with, Robitaille, Blake around. And I think they are in the right direction. You just have to be a little bit patient. But can't wait from you to hear more about, the Kings and the new players they got, everything like that. And when you have Kopitar in the lineup helping for sure for them for the next couple of years. But honestly, we have, like we do every single day, we go around the league, we check for the breaking news and update. And honestly, we have a breaking news about 35 minutes ago. The New York Rangers and their winger, Grundstrom, they have an agreement before they get, they are waiting, honestly, the hearing from the salary arbitration. The second contract, exactly what we thought yesterday. I think you bring to like $4.6 million, if I think so. And then finally they have an agreement of $4.5 million for $9 million. It was exactly what we thought. We asked 5.7. The Rangers came back with a 3.6. So it was a $2.1 million difference. And I think, both of them, they are agree. And the most important thing is like they are, hanging together, like, hands to hands. They want to have, they need him, they want him. And the flip side, Ryan understand what he's worth it, and then he gets something very good. Last season, he scored 18 goals, 41 assists for 59 points. It was the most for him for the Rangers. Play with Petterson, of course. And so I think it's a good signature for the Rangers.
I think it's great. What people forget is he scored 18 goals for them the year before. So he's consistently good. It's a good signing. He's shown he can produce at a high level with Panarin. And he's good defensively. He's like a rare player where you don't have to like force him to play a 200-foot game. And he's good on faceoffs. So
yeah, I agree with you about that. I think, like he scored 33 points a year before that. It's really interesting. He was a fifth overall pick by the Islanders in 2011. He played with them for, 3 seasons before he got traded over there. And, if you remember, he started well at his rookie years. He's, 7 goals, 18 points, 37 games. And then he come back with a good season of 50 points. And unfortunately, his third season, he did not perform at the level what they expected, I believe. And then he traded to the Islander to the Oilers, Edmonton Oilers. And then over there, unfortunately, he did not also do well over there. He have only 34 points, 82 games. But I think behind the door, somewhere, I don't know, it was the year was maybe Dallas Eakins there or
no, it was Mclellan, but he was playing him third line.
Yeah.
And they weren't moving Nugent Hopkins then to the wing. So they had, they had McDavid, Draisaitl. Draisaitl was still kind of emerging, but they were burying him on the third line. If you look at his ice time and his productivity, it was still very good. Yep. And he was a good 200-foot player. And then Chiarelli makes this weird move. He had a prior relationship with Ryan Spooner, who was a good player, but it was obvious he's not at that level anymore. Like Ryan at one point was a similar offensive production to the other, like Spooner to Strome, but Strome's a better player. I mean, Strome is showing, I'm glad he's got this opportunity. He could have done the same thing in Edmonton, frankly.
Yep. I agree with you. I think you mentioned this to us yesterday. We talked about, his A-ring for today, but absolutely right. I think he should get more. One thing it was like we did not mention about this. He got 17 points last season on power play.
No, he's a good player. Like he can play in all situations. I think in Edmonton he wasn't getting on power play. He was playing 5-on-5. He was playing like 13 to 15 minutes a game, and he would kill penalties, I think, too.
That will help him if he can reach the 20 goal per year. Yeah, I mean, he's never been there. He's always up at 17, 18, 13, 13.
Good playmaker, though. He
But
can score, but he's an unselfish player.
you know, honestly, 2 years ago, that's maybe the only year he did not, like, he has less assists to the goal usually. But this year with Petterson, and again, like anybody else, right? Someone get points. Tell me who he play with, right? So you cannot be by yourself, right? At least you're David or something. But if you surround him with the right players, he's going to produce, and that's what happening last season with the Rangers. And again, the Rangers getting him a good contract for 2 years. And of course, after that, he's going to be on UFA. But they have, I think, for both ways, like, Rangers maybe say, you know what, we'll see what happening after 2 years. And for him, say, you know what, I'm going to see what you have on the market. Maybe I can get more if I have 2 good years with it. So at the end of the day, 2 great signature, good
I hope they continue to play him at second line center. Like he's totally capable. The issue will be Lafreniere is going to move up in the lineup, I think. Like, so then the question is, what does that do to that lineup? Lafreniere is on the wing. I don't think it affects center. So it's good unless they move Kakko to middle, which I don't think they will. I think I can see Lafreniere moving up, and then maybe they move Kreider away, right? Like maybe they trade him.
I don't think so. They can do that. I think they will be
maybe
also with Lafreniere.
What's that?
I think they will start a little bit slow with him too. Like they cannot, like they will a little bit protect Lafreniere.
Why?
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't. He's like a monster.
My point to you is, like, they don't want to burn him right away, like give him not pressure, because they have already,
lots of firepower up there.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't say they're going to set him. But my point to you is that, like, they have already Zibanejad, Jad over there, right? And they have Puchinev on the right. And they have Grader over there, and Kakko on that one over there. So you're right. I think Lafreniere is going to play left winger, but again, they have to find him a spot on the top 6, and the only one I can see right now is Puchnevich.
Maybe. Yeah, Buchnevich they like, but I think he's better. He's right now. Lafreniere might be a top 25 player in the world. Like he's ready. First of all, you gotta remember he's older, right? He's a year older. And I think every time I underestimate that guy, like, I'll be honest with you, I was like, maybe Quinton Byfield will go first. And then when I started watching him, I'm like, never mind. Like, this guy can play in the NHL.
Listen.
He's better than Jack. He's better than Kakko.
He's going to get 60 points.
Right.
Over 70 points, 75 points. I'll be very impressed by him.
He won't get that next year, but he'll get 50, 60 points.
Yeah. So
that's like McKinnon in his first year.
Yeah. Again, my point to you is not, like, when you're a first round pick overall, Michael, usually you go with a team where they don't have no foundation and no depth chart, and you say, you know what, buddy, go and play 20 minutes per game and learn and everything like that. But it's rare when you have a team like the Rangers where you listen, the top 6 players right now, they can play anywhere in the NHL.
Totally.
So he's not going, like, like, my point is what I said, protect or whatever it is. It's not like I don't want to diminish his skill and talent. It's going to be a great hockey player. It's it's not like rare you see a player like him go to team and he can almost, like, top 6. You have to work hard to get there. Of course, going to have power play. Of course, going to be 8, 16, 17, 18 minutes per game. But just like like McKinnon get there. Yeah, the Colorado Avalanche, I think they dropped 3 times and didn't make the playoff back to back. With
McKinnon.
Yeah,
but McKinnon, they were doing what you're saying. They were holding McKinnon back, and McKinnon was not figured out yet. McKinnon is like, he was almost too fast. He was like so fast, nobody could he couldn't put it all together because he was playing at Sidney Crosby speed, right? And he had that intensity. And I would watch him and I'd be like, this guy's got to be like better, than I'm seeing, because I'm watching him. He's amazing, right? So when he clicked, it wasn't surprising to me.
Yeah,
but it took a while for him. I think Lafreniere is a little different player, right? Like he's so smart and he's so shifty and he finds seams and he can shoot in tight space. He does a lot of really special things. He's not McKinnon, but he's like a lowercase McKinnon.
exactly.
Like McKinnon's, took him a while to get there because of that. And plus they were so invested in Duchesne, which was crazy. They had Landeskog. They didn't really believe in Ryan or McKinnon, where they weren't sure they were going to pan out. And I'm like, what? O'Reilly was there, and they're like, he's not worth the money. Let's trade him. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. No, what I mean? Like I said,
this is a weird circumstance.
Yeah. No, it's good for Strom. It's good for Rangers. Around the league now, we have only one more news. It's signature, but two signature, but one I think is a minor. It's a two minor. One from Ottawa Senator. We talk about Christian Jaros, 750, 1 year, the 24 years old defenseman.
I was going to mention something about him. So
yeah,
his cousin apparently is Eric Cernak.
Okay.
But he's not related to the goalie.
And the second signature happening last night is the Edmonton Oilers signed William Lagesson.
Yeah, I don't mind him.
He's a 1.5, just a $1.45 million 2 years contract, 725. He played for the Bakersville and AHL last season. He's right now alone in the Sweden league at that moment we're speaking.
This guy's a little under the radar, but he could play. Like he is not going to get you numbers. He's not offensive, but he's a very good defenseman. He's not an exceptional skater, but he's a good skater. He's got an active stick. He's not, huge. He could be a 5, 6, 7 and be very reliable. So I always wonder why he hasn't popped up yet. Maybe it's because he's not flashy, he's not a flashy D. But it's a good little signing. We'll see what happens with him. I mean, what do you get, $700,000?
725, yeah, 144, 1.45 for 2 years. So that's what he played 8 games with Edmonton Oilers last year. He scored less, -4, play about 12 minutes per game. But no, right now he's playing right now the Sweden Hockey Allsvenskan League, the SHAL. And in 11 games, he's already have 9 points, 3 goals, 6 assists, and +6 rating. So, he could. I think it's another one, like sometimes player take a little bit longer, but at some point it's a good.
He's. I mean, listen. I don't have any expectations for him offensively at the NHL level. You can see the difference between like the KHL took a lot of players. The NHL takes a lot of players. The Swedish league has kind of diminished a little bit. It's still a very good professional league, but you can see being on big ice and a little bit less talent, that guys can rack up better numbers. So we don't want to get, too excited about it.
No, of course. Well, he's not the next Evan Bouchard over there.
Definitely not.
Want to be sure. A couple of things going on around the management movement in the Penguins front office. Remember, like a couple of days ago, we mentioned about the retired player, Jason, who was the retired Trevor Daly, right?
Trevor Daly, yeah.
Yeah, and now the Pittsburgh Penguins have promoted Patrick Alvin from the director of amateur scouting to assistant GM.
Wow.
With Rutherford. He's always been with the team since 2006 when he was an European scout for them. So he's over 15 years works with the Penguins. So that's the one there. Other move in the Penguin organization, Sam Ventura, I don't know if you know him, will assume the role of director of hockey operation and hockey research, working closely with Alvin on the salary cap, CBA, and overall hockey operation budget. Eric Heasley will continue his role as a manager of hockey and operation assistant GM for the WBS, where they are Warren Barry. What's the W like? built their team, Barry's Skenton AHL team over there.
Oh, Wilkes-Barre, yeah.
Yeah. So and then just mention about the Rand Bullock contract. It's a surprise to everybody here. You remember he was a $5 million.
Yeah.
So he's get only 3.34 this year and 6.66 for the following year.
I mean, I think logically, what role he plays, he will get a long term at 5'6", right?
Well, the point it made this, I'll be honest with you, is because it's very smart. I really applaud them because the special Barzal contract is coming. That gave them an extra 1.5, 1.8 million more in their pocket. And then the following year, now they increase, but now you're going to lose maybe the people we talking yesterday, Bolchak, Andrew Land, and Komarov. You know what I mean? Like they will have more space next year to let it go some players, and then him at 6 points. Really smart. I like that idea here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gives them a better average than 6. It gives Ryan, when he goes into the following year, if he's still restricted, which I don't know if he is, but would he be unrestricted after that or restricted?
After 2 years,
yeah,
he should be UFA.
That's what I thought.
Because he's 26.
And what it gives Ryan is negotiating power, because then he says, listen, I'm at 6.2, and then the next contract will be longer. So that's a benefit. So they obviously, it's a smart deal for them. I mean,
I agree with you. No, this is really smart. Good move for both of them. Yep. Good stuff over there. I like it. I really like it. Talking about RFA, of course, we talk about Grundstrom just got awaiting. Brand Lemieux have an arbitration rescheduled
that'll be
Friday, tomorrow, and he asked for $2 million, and the Rangers are back with $950 and $1.075 million for the season, for the upcoming season. I really believe this will be, honestly, I see this at 1.25.
That's what I was thinking. I think you're right. That was the number in my head. His dad's probably his agent, right?
Yep, of course.
His dad's like a serious agent.
Pepe's
like one of the. I was shocked. Like he's like a top 10 or 15 agent as far as contracts under management. It's kind of shocking when you look at Puckpedia. I'm like, really? But yeah, he's a big.
Yeah, I work with him. I'll be honest with you, I was impressed. I worked with him and with Arizona Roadrunner and the East Coast Hockey League in 2004, 5, and 6 when the team was owned by the Phoenix Suns. And I was impressed by the way it was management people. I was, you know what I mean? Like, Lemieux, like if you're watching play hockey, me, I wasn't 12 years.
Yeah. As a player, you kind of hated him, but
right, everybody hate him. It was the time with LaFontaine, everybody like earlier before that, and it was the night of the Hags. Everybody always bring Hags, and we throw Hags between both sides of the ring, other side of the ice during the Lemieux was play over there. So, anyways, that's another story.
Yeah. Oh my God.
At the end of the day, the play he play hockey with Avalanche against Detroit and Montreal, Hartford, and everything like that, right? Not many people likes him, but on the offside, and he was the manager, that the GM over there. It was the time of the 2005 lockout, if I remember that year, and I was with them, and they organized a game, Alan May, and they bring Luc Robitaille, and it was all those time over there. But the way he was management and managed and talking with people, I was really impressive by the way he did that. So I'm not surprised what you mentioned to me right now about that one over there.
I always see him in the rink. Like he's always he's very visible. He's always active watching players. Like he's a lot of, people kind of gravitate to him a little bit. His lineup of players is interesting. Like he's got, as an agent, just out of curiosity, Timo Meier, Hampus Lindholm, Freddie Anderson, Rasmus Anderson, Patrick Nemeth. So he's got a lot of Swedish guys.
Yeah, because he worked with a company from Europe.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
That's what it is, yeah. So he started like lower, like, you know what I mean? And then he got to promote, and then he's getting, like, he got those people after that. But yeah, he worked with one or two people. but I remember they are coming from I think Sweden or Finland or something like that. And a guy from Montreal also is involved with that.
Got it. I mean, Meyer's not Swedish, but a lot of these guys are Swedish. So he's got some good players. He doesn't have the top players, but they're all guys that are, solid. Like they all make a contribution. And
talking about another news, the Detroit Red Wings GM said the restriction players RFA forward Timashov, considering all his options, resign with the Red Wing remains a possibility. So we'll see what happens with this guy. Maybe he's looking to play back in KHL or something like that.
That Timashov, he's good, man. Well, he played very well for them. He's got lots of speed. He's aggressive, and he's got some skill. I don't know why they wouldn't just keep.
Remember, he came from Toronto. If you follow him a little bit, it's funny. Do you know where he's from?
Waiver. No, where?
Ukraine.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he's a really good player. I don't know. I like him. I think I was, in my head, I'm like, give this guy a chance next year. Like he's a real good skater. He's stocky. He goes to scoring areas. Like I think he's got some skill.
Yeah.
But
so we're
over. It's too bad.
And maybe the last news we have right now, maybe have something else. You heard something else, but two news. First, we did not talk about this yesterday because the news was get out late yesterday afternoon. Is the last, yesterday we talked about Bishop and Ben Bishop and Tyler Seguin out for 5 months, maybe after surgery. One is the knee, and another one is the hip. And then obviously, Nyquist from the Columbus Blue Jacket is going to be out at least a minimum of 5 to 6 months with a surgery on his left shoulder. So it's a, like we know what he brings. Or honestly, the Columbus was really not great on the offensive side. The top 6 is not like, and Nyquist was one of the top 6 right there. Is going to missing a lot from the Blue Jacket. I believe that will maybe open the door to maybe looking for Hoffman.
I mean, I think Hoffman would fit really well in Columbus, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see.
So he's going to be out for 5-6 months. And that last news I have right now, at least you have something else, is the NHL, the NHLPA, and EA Sports extend a multi-year deal for a couple more years.
They did?
Yeah. So wait, interesting because if you follow the hockey very well and what EA Sport does for many other sport also, but they have he's always been with them for many years, and I think it's great. And they have an agreement. I don't know if you follow a little bit. They have a last year, October 16. They launched a worldwide NHL 21 launched worldwide. 2 weeks ago for PlayStation and Xbox One. Join the EA Sport community on Facebook, Instagram, or follow the Twitter for more information about EA Sport. For the key behind this, they're launching the new one right there, and that'll be interesting. The NHL 94 Rewind launch October 30, 2020. If you're looking for old stuff, so it's I'm not like a big guy on the game, but I think it's good for see that. Where the rewind NHL 94 rewind is pretty amazing to do that. So it's good for them. It's good for, I always said, marketing. NHL should be everywhere to get more, promote more, and that's good to have an agreement with EA Sport where the game is getting more and more on Twitch, and like I believe the next 10 years you're going to have a professional player make $1 million on gaming the next 5 years.
Probably. Like what, in the NHL?
On every sport.
Those guys make a lot more than $1 million. It's the biggest sport next to football.
Do you follow Gary Vee?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So Gary Vee just owned a team from Minnesota, the Rock something, and then I said, what? You know what I mean? I thought it was like a football indoor.
No, it's an esports team.
I thought it was a sport, like, you know what I mean? Like a soccer inside indoor. And then I said, wait a minute. That's not. So they build team right now. 7, 8.
It's huge. Yeah. So I don't know if you know, but okay. So if you look at the number of fans per sport in the United States, the number one sport is football, and there's 130 million fans. The number two sport is esports. It's 105. And then you've got baseball at 90. You got NBA at about 60. And you got NHL at about 45. So it's the second biggest sport in the U.S. Soccer's like 10 or 12, the MLS. So they make a lot of money. Like, they make money on Twitch. Twitch is owned by Amazon. So the streaming that they have on their own channels, they make a lot of money. And then YouTube as well, but YouTube's been really, terrible for censorship and weird stuff. But Twitch, they make a lot of dough. The esports teams are weird because it's, okay, imagine you're the NHL, right? And then you got the players and you got the franchise owner, right? Well, they got an extra element, which is the game. So they have the players, they have the franchise owner, but then they have the game. So there's an extra slice in there, plus the stadium and all that stuff, right? So that slice of the game kind of takes a lot of money out of it. So it's a little bit challenging when you own an esports team, but it's huge. Like, it's just big. And worldwide, it's like the second biggest sport in the world next to soccer.
Yeah, it's very interesting about this. You know what I mean? Like, if you're young age, 14, 15, you want to become a professional, make a ton of money. If you cannot make the NHL, you can make the gaming site. And
you absolutely can. Like, people laugh at it and they criticize people, but guys aren't stupid. Like, guys, if you look at university enrollment in the States, it's now 60-40 women. So where are the guys? They're rejecting debt, and they're going and they laugh and they're saying, oh, they're playing video games. I'm like, yeah, they're making money on video games.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty interesting about that. You know what I mean? I was just opening the door about this, the agreement. So
it's
that's
amazing
stuff over there. And now, we hit the half of the show. It's time to showing up with a preview. We are on the marathon of 31 days, 31 different teams. And today we talk about a team on the West Coast, the Los Angeles King, with the president, Rob Blake, Luke Robitaille, GM, Rob Blake. And, of course, the King, it was 2013 the last time they win.
Is it 15 or 13?
15. I thought the Chicago was 15, 13. And
right here. Kings last, because they won 2012, right? Let's look.
It's out of my
2012. I can't remember the last cup. It's been so long.
Yeah.
They won 93. They did not. 12 and 14. And then 15 was Chicago. So 2012, 2014. So it's been 6 years.
Yeah, because it was a back-to-back, like, Chicago, yeah. LA, Chicago, LA.
Crazy.
Yeah, and Boston between them at the beginning, 11.
And got one in there with Tim Thomas. Yeah. So I think that they were trying to plug holes, and they had Toffoli, and they had Tanner Pearson, they still have Brown, and they have Carter, and Mike Richards flamed out, and those guys were all key to the cup wins, and they were just trying to hang on to guys. Like, we see Alex Martinez left, we saw Jake Muzzin go to Toronto, so you started to see that there was a change when Luke Robitaille took over and Rob Blake is the GM. And they brought in Todd McLellan, which I thought was a really smart move from Edmonton. He's a veteran NHL coach. He's coached in Detroit, coached in San Jose, coached in Edmonton. He's a real good coach. He prepares the team. He's aggressive. They still have Doughty and Kopitar. The miles are adding up a little bit on Doughty as he still plays too many minutes. Like 26 minutes a game for him is probably too much at this point. He'd be better at 23. Which sounds like, not a big change, but it'd be huge over the course of a year. Kopitar's still a very high-end player. He's not, but the game's changed a little bit, right, Pierre? Like, it's benefiting guys that are faster, and Kopitar is very, how do you say it, north-south? Yeah. But he gets his points, and he wins face-offs, and he's a big man in the middle. He's still a legit number one centerman. but then bring in Blake and Robitaille, and they go, listen, we're just going to strip down everything around these two guys, and we're going to build up with some talent. So they draft Gabe Villardi. Villardi has a lot of back issues, which is really strange out of junior. Nobody knows what's going on. It looks like his career is really in jeopardy, and things don't look good. So they're shedding assets. They let Pearson go. They let Toffoli finally go. The defense looks real thin. But then what we saw is, it's like you let number one, that gets them high draft picks. So they've drafted very well. Although, the one player I don't like, but so last year they drafted Alex Turcotte. He looks like a legitimate number one, number two centerman, and he's a 200-foot player. He's the son of Alfie Turcotte, who played obviously in the NHL for Montreal a little bit and a little bit in Washington. His uncle is Jeff Turcotte, who is actually in the Kings organization as a junior Kings coach and development coach. And his grandfather is the godfather of stick handling schools, which is Real Turcotte. Is that his grandfather? Yeah, it is, right? And then, so last year, then they drafted Tobias Bjornfot, but they have a whole bunch of other prospects. They draft Alex Kaliyev, who is a high goal scoring player, Russian player in the OHL. I don't like him. His work ethic is terrible, and he has apparently a horrible, horrible attitude. But they do sign him, and then they get the jewel. They get Quinton Byfield as the second overall pick this year. And by all accounts, and I think this is a player that'll take a little bit of time. He's one of the youngest players, or if not the youngest player in the NHL draft. But he's a 6'4", highly skilled centerman. He has an NHL shot, and it's really exciting to see. You've also seen that a lot of the the athletes of color in the city, including Magic Johnson, recognize that he's the highest drafted, black athlete in the NHL at this point. And they've all reached out to him publicly. It's really kind of nice to see how they've embraced him. Hopefully it doesn't go to his head. He seems like a very level-headed kid. He always dresses with a bow tie, but he is a big piece to this future. I don't know what that word is.
I feel like him, like a little bit like the Zeph Jones.
It takes some time, right? Like he's got that same body as Seth Jones, where he's long and kind of leanish. He's strong and he's skilled, but it took Seth a little bit of time, right?
That's normal at that young age to grow and they get big at this young age. I think so. He's going to get better. He's going to improve his speed. He's doing that.
They just need to be patient with him. I think, unlike Lafreniere, if you compare the two, to me, one guy's the youngest guy in the draft, and the other guy's like the oldest guy in the draft. So there's a time difference that Lafreniere has the benefit of. And you saw that in the World Juniors, where Quinton really struggled to contribute. Whereas Lafreniere was like, when he got hurt and he came back, and it was like, whoa, like this guy thinks the game at a high speed and does things to create opportunity, and he's there. But a year before that, he wasn't like that. So I think you're going to see the same thing with Quinton. It wouldn't hurt him to go back and play in junior, but there may not be junior. Like I don't have a lot of faith that he should go back to the OHL. I think he's done what he can do there. I just don't know what you do with him. They might just need a year of mentorship on the NHL and then slowly move him up. Wouldn't hurt him to play a little bit with Kopitar, But they have lots of other prospects. They made the trade for Olli Maatta. Last year, what was interesting was you saw 4 players emerge that can really play. On defense, you saw 3 of them, Walker, Roy, and Anderson. And it looks pretty dismal on paper if you don't know them. But when you watch them, you're like, oh, these guys can play. So all these guys are actually good NHL defensemen. Are they number 2, 3 defensemen? I don't think so. I think that they're probably more like 3, 4, 5 or 4, 5, 6. So they will want to add another defenseman in there. And they think they did that with Maatta. I think realistically Maatta's a 3-4. But, they're getting there. They're not very far away. Bjornfot could be a top 2, but I think he's more like a 3 to me. So they probably have room for one more guy to help out Kopitar, but all of it's positive. Cal Peterson in net, his numbers are otherworldly. And if you watch him, he's very technically sound. He's got a similar build to Jonathan Quick, but a better style. And I think he's more dedicated off ice, which is, I think caught up to Quick, where he's older now, The injuries have added up because he's not really dedicated necessarily physically to training. He's always got by on talent and intuition. So you saw injuries start creeping in. It was bad. But I think Quick can still contribute at the NHL level. I think he's still capable. But Cal Petterson, I think, increasingly looks like he could be a number one. I guess that's to be determined. If you look at the other layer of prospects, Gabe Villardi looks like the player they drafted. He came back. He's 6'3", smart centerman, good playmaker, offensively dangerous. Martin Frk, who was a reclamation project from Detroit, if you've watched him, you know he has probably one of the best shots in the NHL. The problem is away from the puck. And away from the puck, he's a disaster for a lot of coaches, and they just can't handle it. It's kind of like the Andreas Athanasiou issue. So I think he went down to the AHL, he paid attention to his defense, and when he came up, he showed again he can score. And that Villardi-Frk combination gives them a legit second line. Can he do it over 80 NHL games? I do not know. They look like it based on last year, but we will find out. That is still to be determined. But skill-wise, Martin Frk, and I don't know if did you watch him in the Quebec League?
Yeah. He's another one where he's like an upside down, right? No,
upside down. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, not a bad way, but I think exactly. I think that's the way I see him right now. So it would be interesting how the Kings believe on him and give a lot of chance about that part of there. So
I agree. I think it'll be that there's potential there. I don't know if I like to see it work out, because in Detroit, I thought they gave up on him too early, and he was very, very he's dangerous. Like when he shoots the puck, it's as good as any player I've seen.
Yeah,
away from that, it's horrible. But they have other prospects. They have Jarrett Anderson-Dolan, who's very good. They have Akil Thomas. They have Carl Grundstrom that came over in the Jake Muzzin deal from Toronto. Blake Lizotte is not my favorite player, but he did play very well last year. And he projects if they give him ice time, he could get a lot more points. He's a very fast skater, but he's very small. And he is smart. I think he gets pushed out very fast, though, with Turcotte, Kopitar, and Villardi down the middle. I just don't think he's a good winger either. But maybe, I think that'll be a guy it'll be hurt by the emergence of these young guys. And then you add in Quinton Byfield to the mix. And I think they probably start Byfield on the wing, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not the coach, so we'll see what happens. The other Anderson here is the guy that Elias Anderson, who was a high draft pick by the Rangers. I think he was drafted way too high. But he is good at what he is good. And here's an example of what you were saying before, where you protect a player so that he has upside. They didn't protect this player, and his offensive game has totally been stunted by his defensive game. And I don't know if he can recover it. And he was drafted way too high on top of it and rushed to the NHL for no reason. Because what he does is good. He could be a very good third line center. But now I don't see him being a top six. Samuel Fagemo, I did not like him last year in the rookie tournament here in Anaheim. However, we saw it at the World Juniors. We see it in Europe. He can score. He can play. I did not like him away from the puck. Sometimes, as you know, Pierre, when you get a goal-scoring guy, they float, and they're looking for space all the time. And I feel like he needs to understand how not to float, because you can't do that at the NHL level. So if he can figure that out, he could be a really good prospect. I don't think he's ready, though. I think he's probably another year or two away. The other guy that is ready probably is Kupari, and Kupari was a pretty high draft pick by them. He's a Finnish player. He is fast, and he can play. I just don't know where he fits on this team. On this roster, I'm not sure. Does he push out Elias Anderson? He could. Does he, if they move Jeff Carter, he could fit in, or if Dustin Brown drops down the lineup. Alex Iafolo, he showed he can play in a top line. I think he's better as a second line winger, but he's very fast and pretty skilled and can score and stocky. I like Grundstrom coming in. They signed Austin Wagner. He looks like he has more offense, but at the very least, he's a good bottom six. Trevor Moore came over from Toronto, and he's really good. He's a California kid. I thought he played very well for them. He's got some size and grit, and he can score a little bit. Adrian Kempe, I don't know. if Adrian Kempe doesn't play the way he did in the second half, and he plays more like he did in the first half, then he's gone. I mean, there's just too much talent coming up. He's got talent, but if he's not engaged in the play and producing, then you lose interest in him really fast.
He's already played 250 games in the NHL.
You're just waiting and waiting for him to be he looks like he should be a second line center, but he just doesn't pull it off,
Yep.
It's a little frustrating to watch, but he did look good the second half. So, maybe it was just too much for him. I guess we'll see. He needs to start fast, though. Olli Maatta came over in the trade with Chicago, right? He'll be a good player to help out Drew Doughty. Matt Roy played very well last year, as did Mikey Anderson. We talked about Mikey Anderson's brother, who just re-signed in Toronto and came over in the New Jersey trade. Mikey Anderson looks like he's, to me, he's more like a 5, but he can play in the NHL. Sean Walker looked very good last year. Curtis McDermott's kind of a little bit of a throwback defenseman. He's tough. You're not going to get a lot of offense out of him, but he's a tough, strong guy. I project him more as a 6'7". What would really help them is having another top prospect on D. It could be Tobias Bjornfot. He looks like he can play in the NHL. He's a little slight. I think they need to be patient with him so he doesn't, get rushed. But he can play. I mean, he's better than Mikey Anderson. So I think he could play second pairing, but they may protect him. They might just keep him in the AHL, and you're not in a big rush to get him up there. If you look at the cap situation, they're in pretty good shape. So they've shed a lot of salary. They do have 2 huge contracts with Kopitar and Doughty. However, otherwise, they're fairly favorable. You can project where in a couple years, or if they decide to buy or move these guys, Jeff Carter and Dustin Brown can still play. Jeff Carter can still play, but they're older and they're not what they once were. And Kopitar is not getting any younger. I don't think his game's diminishing. However, surrounding those guys with young players is a smart thing. Alex Iafolo needs to be re-signed for next year or let him go. I think he can go either way. He is capable of getting you 20 goals. Adrian Kempe we talked about. I think it's like he's got to do it or he's gone. Wagner is a good signing. Lizotte's a good contributor. Villardi is the future. Quinton Byfield is the future. Turcotte is the future and not the distant future. These guys can all play now. What they can produce, Villardi's ahead of the other guys. He showed last year that he hasn't really lost a step after all the back problems where he looked like his career's in jeopardy. He is, to me, if he's healthy, a legitimate number 2 center that could project as a number 1, which is interesting because nobody's talking about that. But if you watch him, he is like, he's a really talented player and he's dangerous and he doesn't take shifts off and he's big. So if he can continue to play like that, then they've got a 55, 65 point player probably this year. Drew Doughty's still very good, but he's a little younger than Kopitar, but he needs some help back there. He can't play 26, 28 minutes a game.
He was lucky to get $11 million.
I think he's still capable, but that's a huge contract. I mean, he is the star there still, but he's overplayed and you're seeing it wear out on him. And I don't think he's, when this is how old I am. I scouted him in the OHL in his draft year. And I was like, wow, are you guys sure about this guy? He was an overage defenseman. And I'm like, he's pretty fat. Now, to his credit, he came to the NHL. They whipped him into shape. But I don't think he's always in the best shape. And I think that
he had 60 point, 45 point, 35 point.
Yeah, he's still capable, but he's got to be in better shape to do that, and he can't play 26 minutes a game.
It's just like he got a lot of money for what he
did. Yeah, I think the off season or his off season is catching up to him, and the amount of miles he has is catching up to him. But it's not like permanent. If they had a number 2 guy or a second pairing that could legitimately play 20 minutes, that would really benefit Drew Doughty. And if he worked his butt off on the offseason, which I'm not sure, I don't know firsthand, but you can see he's not as chiseled as he was earlier.
Yeah, he signed at the right time. He signed a year prior this year, so he got like $88 million for 8 million. You know what I mean? Like normally he should get about $9 million, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. He would be much more palatable at 9.
Yep.
If you look at the prospects, we kind of talked about it. You mentioned this other guy. Like this year, they got Byfield. Helga Grands looks like a very good prospect. Brock Faber he came over. Which trade was that? Was that the I can't remember where that pick came from, but that worked out very well for them. The Brock Faber pick. I think that's a real good prospect. You love Turcotte. You got to love Bjornfot. I do not believe in Kaliyev, but he might play because he's just got so much ability to score goals. But, he's going to learn really fast. The culture in LA will be, it's hard to say. It can be laid back, but it can also be hardworking. So maybe he fits in. But I think that they're going to want him to he can't be an attitude case. Nobody's going to put up with that. He had real problems in Hamilton that were documented pretty well. Like he dropped in the draft for a reason. Otherwise, this guy would have been a top 10 pick. Fagemo, as I mentioned, I didn't love him, but he's pretty good. And actually, Jordan Spence is pretty good. And the goalie they like, I don't know much about him. Kupari looks like he's ready. Akil Thomas is maybe, he'll split time. This other guy, Aiden Dudas, I don't know if you've watched him. He's an interesting player. I just don't know if he'll find a spot on the team, but he's a really smaller, talented player. Like he's pretty good. And then you still got Jarrett Anderson-Dolan, who should play in the NHL next year. So I don't know. They've done a real good job in the last, 1, 2, 3, 4 drafts. They've stocked up.
Yeah, I want to mention to you a couple of things. First of all, they have to pay Diane Fanner for another $4 million this year. And then $1 million.
Yeah, Dion Phaneuf.
Then they had to pay Mike Richards $700,000, and then this year they have to pay Kovacic for $6.2 million.
Oh my God!
So they have $11 million right now
tied up
coming season for 3 players. They are on the beach for the rest of their life.
Do you think Kovalchuk will play?
Well, yeah, of course. He's right here. He's skating. He skates at the ring right now.
In Florida?
Yeah, he's in Florida during the COVID. So I'll be not surprised if he signed with the Panthers, but yeah. I could be wrong.
That would be interesting. I mean, he was terrible in LA. I think he was partially misused. They had the John Stevens was the coach, and I feel like he was so stuck in the Daryl Sutter mode that it really hurt them. And he got let go because of that. And then they brought in Willie Desjardins, and the players did not buy into that, which, Willie's just too soft for that group. And you could tell he was temporary. So it was not a good start. And Kovalchuk is a weird player. Like he has all the size and talent and training in the world, but he's got a weird kind of attitude, right?
But again, he's not like 18 anymore. He's 36, 37. Yeah. So the baggage experience is there, but
he looks like a younger man, and he has a lot of skill. So I don't know if that plays into it. I think what you saw here was they were playing him on the point in the power play, and it was horrible. And he danced around the outside a lot. You expect him to be more like a guy that is either a setup where he's getting shots.
Left side. You have to be on his
left side, not the right side, right?
Yep.
So I think there was always that battle. So he was just poorly used, I think, when he was here. And I don't think he can be your top guy. And they were looking at him as being a huge piece of it. And it really messed things up. It was kind of the last days of the older guys because of that.
You still want to play hockey. You can get him for $1 million right now. Yeah. You can be on the third line, like the Florida Panthers looking for someone just to pick it up and to play on the power play. I think it'll be a good pick for the Florida Panthers. Now,
I kind of debate because I think he's
on the house here. He was going to finish his days here. You know what I mean? So a lot of different things. I think it will be a good pick for Florida. Well, we'll see happen. But I want to mention like this, the good team have it's like a phase, right? You go high, then you win the Stanley Cup. You try maybe hanging there for 1 more year, 2 more years, and then you go down, right? And then now you are down, you have to pick it up. What I mentioned to you is this part over there. During the time, it was really good. So during the time, 13, 14, and everything like that, right? And 13, they never pick the first round.
No.
Second and 14, they pick only in 29, right? So they get Andren Kempe. But when you get 25, 29, it's one chance on two, right? So you don't have like a big prospect over there. Now they pick after that. They try to win, so they get a good. They trade on the deadline and 15, and then they have no pick, so they give away their pick, and now they get only 43. And 16, same thing. They get only 51. Their first pick of the draft, it was second round, and then they drop down, and then it's coming now. It was look up Dow jump on the team, and then you can see the shift. So they start to selling. And to understand, and 17, they have to get some move, everything like that. Now they get a first round pick first time, and the bottom 15, there was 11. They get a Villardi. Gabriel Villardi is coming for the Windsor Spitfire OHL. I think he's a good prospect. But now you can see in 18, they get 20. They get Kupari. I don't know him a lot. I don't know if you know him. He played in Lika. He was the number 20 overall. But he checked 19. They get 5. They get 22. They get 33. And they get 50. And then I got Fagemo, Kaliyev, Bjornfot, and then Alex Turcotte. So you have right now 4 players. I believe 2 of them, maybe 3 of them can make the NHL and they can become something solid. Then this year, they get 2 of them. They get Byfield, number 2, and then the MLG Grants, number 35, and 45, Brock Faber. So you can see now the shifting. So they go with the veterans like Quick, Doughty, and then Kopitar. And now going to hanging 2 more years, maybe 1 or 2 more years with Carter and Dustin Brown to keep that, that experience with the youngest one. And then I don't be surprised they bring a lot of young players this year on the bottom, because I think they have like Thomas, he said earlier.
Akil Thomas is good.
I think that would be a good one over there. But I think under 216 draft, they don't have really great hockey player, or they're like one make this is maybe
never turned out. Eisenmont's not doing anything. They traded away their first, so
you can see the shift, the direction they go. A little bit like Ottawa, a little bit like the Detroit Ranger. Detroit did also. The Rangers did 2 years ago. But I believe the Rangers never been a rebuild team, because they still have the core there. They would, they still have Lundqvist, they have Greater over there, and they get their still 3, 5, 6 players. So the King are more the team really low. You have to be 2 more years.
I agree.
Be a little bit with the King, like the Red Wings, like the Ottawa Senators.
They're probably ahead of the Red Wings by a lot. Because the reality is, Kopitar can still play, Doughty can still play.
I agree with you. I can
play. But then Turcotte, but the Villardi thing, it looked like that was a wasted pick, because he just missed so much time because of the back injury. And now, that's why I say, he's the X factor. If he can play 80 games the way he did last year, holy crap, you got a great player. He can step in, and Turcotte can step in. So it'll be interesting. They're probably 2 years ahead of Detroit.
I would not be surprised they trade maybe 1 of the 2 veterans, like Carter. But
I think they would love to trade Carter, I believe. And I think that they'll let Brownie retire there. But I
agree with you.
I think Carter would love to.
He's not on the protection. I think Jonathan Quick could become someone, attract a good team looking for maybe for a goalie.
I agree.
They would maybe get 2 prospects.
I don't know, man. Quick, it'll be interesting to see, because there's a lot of loyalty to him. I don't see them trading Quick, Doughty, or Kopi. I think
all the 3 you mentioned, Quick is the first one can go.
I don't know if they'll do that. I'm not sure if they will. I think it wouldn't be a bad move. They really believe in Petterson, and I don't know what else they have coming up, but Petterson looks good. I don't like Ingram. Connor Ingram to me doesn't look like an NHL number 1 or 2 to me, but maybe he is. He's a big goalie, but I think he struggled. I don't know.
The only good thing about Quick is this part. His contract not affect too much.
No, it's good. The contract's totally reasonable. He's
$5.8 million. He's 34. He's going to be 37.8 at the end of this 3 years. And at $6 million for who he is, they're not going to find a lot of goalie like him.
No, that's why I think they ride it out with him. And maybe he just becomes more of a backup to stay healthy. But, his fate is in his own hands. He showed at the end of the year he can play at a high level. When they moved out Jack Campbell, he was capable of playing a high level. His problem is, to me, his health. And his health, I think, is directly tied to the style he plays and his physical conditioning.
Yep.
And you're told to go around. It can't be about, they used to say about him, he's all about chew and chaw and winning cups. Okay, but there's a training element you can't, and the implication being you didn't care about training, right?
But you have to remember the last 2 seasons, right? He didn't have a great season, but you have to look also who is going to play with, who played with him.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you have 46 games, 42, you have 3.38, you have a bad year at 0.888, and then you last year played 42 games and 60, 70. So he could be maybe 50 game at 2.79, but look the team you have in front, but he still have 0.9904. But prior to that, for 10 years or 9 years, he was the one of the best top 5 goalies.
Numbers, So I think if he's healthy and they can keep him to 40 games or somewhere around there, then he's totally good. There's not too many goalies like that, and he can retire an LA King, which is what should happen.
So it's a great. I just love those.
I gotta jump it.
Right. Me too. So it's great stuff. Thanks again, everybody, to be around here. Thanks, Michael, to bring the lessons. King, I think tomorrow we have. We start with the M.
Yep.
Right.
I can't remember if it's like Minnesota or.
I think it's Minnesota. I don't see anything else. Then Montreal's coming soon after that. So that'd be great. Everybody, have an amazing Thursday. Any news, breaking news we're going to come back. If not, see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Have an amazing Thursday, everybody.